Hello and welcome to today's video. It's been a couple weeks. I was sick, both hurt tummy and sneezing. Can you believe it? And I also started sewing classes. Let me show you my project. This is my drawstring bag. And today I'll be making a scrunchie and a headband, and I'm very excited. That hasn't been taking up a lot of my time, but I just wanted to show you. So yeah, I've been really busy. Also, I've been looking at rental units to move out, which is kind of crazy because initially we planned on moving out in September and it is May. And the train's on the tracks and it's just moving. So hopefully, eventually, I will be in a different corner of a different home in a different town, paying rent. Okay. So today's video, I wanted to share some of my favorite funny books that are actually funny. Comedy is subjective. I don't know if you guys know this, but comedy is very subjective. So if you don't like any of these books, that is very understandable, and everyone has a different sense of humor. I like to think of myself as funny. I've been told I'm funny, funny, haha, funny looking, all of the above. But everyone has a different sense of humor. So if you don't like these books, that is completely fine. I just wanted to give you a recommendation of some that I find genuinely funny. Because in the nebulous world of humor books, a lot of them just aren't funny at all. So I want you to steer clear of those. And if you actually want to have a good cackle, a good laugh, a good breathe through your nose laugh, here are some recommendations. I wanted to start off with the two physical books that I have on this list. And the first one I've shared before, and this is Heartburn by Nora Ephron. If you are a fan of Nora Ephron rom-coms, you will enjoy this. You already like her sense of humor. This was turned into a movie, but my mom says it was bad. So I can't watch it because she said it was bad. But this is really funny. It's just mostly like an inner monologue about a woman who recently found out her husband is cheating on her while she's pregnant. I later found out that this pretty much happened to Nora Ephron, and this was kind of like her Dear John, putting this guy on blast, putting her ex-husband on blast. So it's really funny, and it's also a little sad because it's about something really sad. But it's just kind of more so about a woman, taking an opportunity to reassess her life and coming to terms with her lot in life through humor, which is always fun because humor is the best coping mechanism. So this next book, I don't consider a funny book. It is funny. I did laugh. But the main reason I wanted to share this book, and it is A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. Really enjoy this book. It is really sad, but it also is funny at some points. I gave this to my grandma for her birthday gift and thought, oh, she'll think it's sad. No, she just said it was really funny. I was like, so the parts about his dead wife are funny? And she was like, yeah, he just had a funny perspective. So, we had very different experiences with this book. Overall, there are a lot of funny things because Ove has a funny perspective on life. So there are some little quips that are funny, but there's also some of the most heartbreaking things. So if you really like to feel the full breadth of human emotion while reading a book, this one's for you. You might laugh, and if you're my grandma, you will have a hoot and a half. So the next few books that I'm going to share, I read all as audiobooks. And as just a rule of thumb, I find that I enjoy humor books when I listen to them as audiobooks more because you can get more of the inflection of the author. And I think that just adds to the comedy. It's a little harder to just be funny in the written word. I feel like having the inflection and the funny voices and stuff, that makes comedy come through more. So if you're finding that you're reading books and you're not finding them funny, try listening them to as audiobooks, and also try just seeking out people you already think are funny, whether that's stand-up comedians or podcasters. They probably have a book. And if you liked anyone on YouTube in 2012, they have a book too. If you found them funny, it might be funny. I don't know. So the first book I want to mention is Trixie and Katya's Guide to Modern Womanhood by Trixie and Katya Zamolodchikova. I've talked about this book in a wrap-up, but I found it really funny. I'm a huge fan of Trixie and Katya. I love their podcast, and this book kind of just felt like a more organized version of their podcast. So if you already enjoy that, you'll probably enjoy this book as well. It has the absurdist humor that you're used to with them, so it definitely delivers on the whole conceit of Trixie and Katya's comedy. I listened to this one, as I said, as an audiobook, so it was very much like a podcast. It was also quite short. So if you want to get into comedy and you're a fan of drag and you're a fan of Trixie and Katya, I'd recommend this book. It was a good one. The next book that I recommend is Calypso by David Sedaris. I've only read the one David Sedaris book, but he's been on the Armchair Expert podcast a bunch of times, and every time he goes in there, he's super funny. So I do want to check out more of his books, but Calypso, I think, is one of the more popular ones of his. And I found it really funny. There's a lot of essays that still stick out in my head. I remember like listening to them in the car on the way back from a cottage, and like when I think of those essays, I can still picture where we were. So it's very memorable. And David Sedaris just has a very interesting life, and he's a very interesting character, so that gets him into very weird scenarios. He's just a very eclectic guy, and the stories are very eclectic. He says a lot of weird stuff. It's just mostly weird, which I love. But this is a series of essays. David Sedaris is a very famous essayist, comedian essayist. So, you know, you probably already heard of him. But Calypso was great, and I am excited to read other books from him. So the next book on the list is actually the most recent addition, and that is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I read it last month, and I kind of became obsessed with Dolly Alderton for like a week. And then I also read Dear Dolly, which I didn't love as much, but I really liked Everything I Know About Love. I found it really funny, really insightful. It's kind of like part memoir, part essay collection. She goes through her life, but it is kind of structured in smaller stories like an essay. And I found it like actually genuinely really funny. Like I think I cackled, and that's really difficult to do. Again, I listened to this as an audiobook, which I think helps the comedic timing of the story. But altogether, I find Dolly really funny, and I think her sense of humor is very similar to my sense of humor. Well, at least I find the things that she says funny, so I'm assuming that means we're the same. I'm actually Dolly Alderton's brunette friend, Megan, who lives in Canada and has never met her. But I'm also very successful. But yeah, this was just a really good book overall in terms of memoirs, essays. I'm not a huge nonfiction fan, but I really enjoyed this, and it was so good that it made me want to read the other books she's written. So the last book on our list is Bridget Jones's Diary by Helen Fielding. And like I said, it kind of feels like the precursor to Dolly Alderton's writing. She's like, you know, kind of like a clumsy, over-the-top character. It's based on Pride and Prejudice, which I almost actually put on this list, but then I remembered most of the things that I think are funny are from the Keira Knightley version of the movie, like, what excellent boiled potatoes. And I don't remember anything funny from the book. But this book is based, that was a long story. This book is based on Pride and Prejudice, and it's like a modern day retelling. And Bridget Jones is our modern day Elizabeth Bennet, and she is unlucky in love, she is unlucky in career, she is unlucky in pretty much anything and every way possible, but she's very relatable and like down on her luck, and she's a funny character. She gets herself into a lot of situations that are, you know, unfortunate, but she has a very funny reaction to all of it. There are some more problematic parts of this book, such as starting off every chapter with the weight of the main character. That's a little icky for me personally. If you were looking for a little bit better representation for, you know, healthy eating habits and discourse on EDs, then check out Everything I Know About Love. But Bridget Jones's Diary came out in like the 90s. It is not the best in terms of that part of the thing. Yeah, Bridget Jones's Diary is funny in a similar way that Everything I Know About Love is funny. It's because our main character just kind of is always put in scenarios where they pick the worst possible reaction, and a lot of the comedy comes out of like the stupid decisions they make. So if you liked either Bridget Jones's Diary or Everything I Know About Love, I think you'd like the other one, as long as you don't mind a little bit of outdated stuff going on in Bridget Jones's Diary. It's just kind of a classic, and we're coming to the point where I'm realizing, do I just think British people are funnier? And I think that might be the case. That is the last book on this list. I'm sure I've read other books that I thought were funny, but these are the ones that actually stuck with me and like made me laugh, and I remember laughing. To me, that's the good sign of a comedy book. If I still remember some of the jokes and I still remember laughing at some of the book, then that makes it stick in my head as an actually funny book. If you've read any of these books and found them funny or not funny, let me know down in the comments. And if you have any recommendations for comedy books, please let me know. I'm always on the hunt for something that will make me cackle and hee hee and ha ha, because currently that need is filled by watching endless amounts of YouTube videos and trying to find anything funny on Instagram Reels. No luck, but I'll keep looking. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you pick up some of these books. I hope you laughed. Ha ha. It's good for the soul. I've heard that. Laughter's good for the soul. So is living and laughing and loving. I already said laugh. This is going off the rails. Thank you for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.